Today's youth need teachers, volunteers, and most of all, well, they need you. I'm Doug Edwards, and I'm going to be talking with real youth mentors and students to give you the knowledge you need to be the best youth worker possible. This is Youth Worker on Fire. Ellie was our tour guide for the entire trip. He would introduce us to other tour guides in short sections of the trip, like at Shiloh and also Golgotha, Garden Tomb. But he basically gave us everything that we needed and told us everything. Incredibly knowledgeable. Remember, he speaks 3 languages, English, Aramaic, Hebrew. So it was the very last day. It was a very crowded assembly area in the Jerusalem Theater or Theater of Jerusalem. But I caught him right at the tail end. I knew we were trying to get an interview with him the entire time, but it was a very busy schedule. So we finally got together that last night and that last hour before we packed and left to go back to the United States. Thank you, Ellie, for doing all you did for us and for this interview. Great thing that he talks about, and you've talked about over and over, is, hey, you're not trying to get political. You're not trying to be the expert. You're trying to give the information you know about Jerusalem, Israel, and all those things. And listen, you did a fabulous job there. So tell me, this is Youth Worker on Fire. So we talk about who are influencers in our life? How did we become who we became? If it's your parents, great. If your parents were great, they were great influencers, but there was somebody else, especially in your adolescent years, 11 to 25 years of age. Was there anybody like that was just a great influence for you that kind of turned a light bulb on in your head? Anybody like that?
Yes, there's multiple people like that. More than 1, more than 3, more than 5 people that I took influences from the things. So it'll be hard to just pick one, but there's different sentences, different bits of wisdom that I think I got from different people throughout the years.
Or tell me a couple of them.
All right, there's a saying in Jewish tradition that says, who can you call a smart, a wise person?
Yeah.
Is he or she or they who learn from everyone, can learn from every person. There's a lot to learn from people. Influences I got definitely from my father, to work hard, to study hard. My father, he was an academic, he's an historian, and we spent a long time studying and writing stuff and teaching and learning, a lot of learning. In his 40s and 50s, he still read and learn new stuff. And I find it fascinating. I think it enriched my inside world, my spiritual or intellectual, already. My inside world always give me a will to study more, to learn more things. It should never stop. You should always seek out and be curious about everything.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one influence. And my sister was a super communicative person, and she's a bit like a host show, like a host of a show, Yeah. Like whenever people are around her, she's always interested and she's always making conversation. And I think I studied that. I learned that a lot from her. And there's a bunch of people whose names I can say, a friend, a teacher, a lot of spiritual teachers that taught me to take responsibility. A good friend of mine, a very good friend of mine in the youth, his name is Mickey, taught me to really be responsible for yourself. Take responsibility, whatever. You're responsible for what you do. What happens to you is what happens. You can't take responsibility over other people's needs, but you can take responsibility on yours, and you should. You got it.
Yeah. Be responsible.
Yes, for your own stuff, for your own deeds, you got to be responsible. Yes.
Yeah, which is a great rule of leadership. If you're going to be a leader, you got to make sure you take responsibility.
So you're just a person in this life that wants to navigate through life in a good way.
Yeah. One of your colleagues, Tamar, told me that we recorded her too. She's going to be on the podcast as well.
Right.
That she was a national, but and didn't have to do the military part, but worked with students 2 years for women, whether it's military or something else like that, serving, and 3 years for men. and then the reserve. So how do you fit in that picture as far as Israel?
Yeah, so the military is, it could be a lot of different things for different people. You could divide it for combatant soldiers and for non-combatant. I was never combatant. I was like a fighter and running in the field, shooting,
Right.
which definitely builds your character. I think all of it builds your character a lot. Teaches you how to, again, responsibility and how to wake up in the morning and do things. And to do things the best you can. And just like be on it. Just do the things you do, not wait around with it, but just hit the road, start doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, my service was not, I cannot say it was very interesting. I did something called battalions. It's like education, part of the military. There's also the education part of the military. And so that's the battalions and youth battalions, I guess you call them.
Yeah.
It's kind of working with kids who are going to be in the army but not yet in it.
Yeah.
Just to give them like an idea, like a week, a few days to feel what it's like to be on a base. And that's fun. I mean, it's fun. It's a good thing to do. But I think I think my military service is not a good example for that, but yes, it's very much a character builder for a lot of people.
Well, it is, because there's all kinds of areas. There's no good or bad, I think, in your military service, or best or better. There's just they saw you as qualified for a certain thing, and you did a certain thing, and someone else does something until it all fills in. All the blanks are filled, so where there's safety in the nation, and I mean, military is about protect, defend, and also working as a team.
Absolutely.
You knew how to listen. You worked us as a team. How many was 40 of us on the bus? Is that what? 38. Yeah, plus you and Schwab and your bus driver. You guys worked as a team, and a good team. So you don't just do that. You learned it somewhere. Military is probably part of that for you. The other, your family.
Yeah, to be honest, I think since in Israel there is the military service is obligatory.
Yeah.
There's parts of the population that will not do military service. So most, not all, but most of the Arab population is not doing military. Most, not. There's also a lot that do.
Yeah.
And some of the ultra religious folks don't do the military. And it doesn't really matter who, but there's some people who don't do military. Mm-hmm. At the same time, since most people do the military, these things, they're kind of in the culture of the country. So it does. So you kind of get it from there. Even if you didn't do service, it's in the air. The teamwork, definitely. The striving for good, for like to do good, to do your job good in that sense, not necessarily in the religious sense of the world, but just like to do your job.
Right. And you talked about your religious upbringing. Were you in synagogue? Were you in something else? Is Jewish your faith, or? And I know I've talked to a lot of Jewish Israelis, and they say, no, we celebrate the holiday. We don't go to synagogue, but you would do that. And then some are saying, well, I'm Orthodox. Yeah. So is that something you can talk about? Is there faith that you were brought up in?
Yeah. First of all, I'm Jewish, and I'm not very religious. Here in Israel, we'll use terms like secular versus religious. It's a little bit different in America. But first of all, because, my Judaism is my people. That's my ethnicity, my people, my nation.
Yeah, right.
And it's a nation that comes with a wide culture. Inside this culture is the religion. Mm-hmm. Okay, so note that I didn't say the word faith so far.
Yeah.
And I think in general, of course, there is faith. And of course, I can talk to you about my spiritual beliefs or attitudes toward life, which they exist, of course. I have a God, let's say that. I have a God, but I'm not a very practicing person. Yeah. So we do love traditions. And I think there's plenty of wisdom in all kinds of traditions in life, especially the ones, you do have to carry. You should carry the traditions of your people, family, ancestry. And I definitely feel that I want to do that. I do that. I am that, even though I do not call myself religious. I enjoy very much the traditions of the Jewish religion, and enjoy, and I feel there's a lot of wisdom to it. Like for community, for morality, like of the bigger society, and for your own community, which is like a smaller circle of society. Definitely a lot for your family, and definitely for yourself. Your most small circle between you and yourself, you and your God.
You were talking about the religion of rules versus what you saw this week, and some of our guys with a religion of grace and mercy. Talk to me about that. You want to say any of that?
It's pretty philosophical. There's a lot to be said. First of all, you could say that you immediately asked me about faith, and I think faith is a very important thing in the Christian faith, Christian way. Let's even not call it religion for a moment.
Right.
It's like the Christian way. It's a pivotal point, like, if you have faith. And Judaism is more a religion or a way of deed. There's a lot of deed, a lot of stuff you have to do. And for good and for bad. I mean, that's just the way it is. I'm not saying this way is better than the other. Just those can be. You can point out these elements about them. Yes, definitely. Throughout the years, and including in the translations of the New Testament, the word law, as it refers to the Jewish religion, has been used very widely. In other words, they in many places we just say, "Oh, teachers of the law," meaning teachers of the Jewish way, of the Jewish religion, and so this has been used a lot, and it's true. There's a lot of law or rule, even right there, commandments and deeds. Definitely, a lot of deeds within the Jewish religion. It's a religion of deeds. But I have to say, it's not only that. It's not just the law. It's not a religion of lawyers, if you will, even though, true, a lot of lawyers come out of the Jewish culture. Yeah. With a reason. It's not a coincidence. There's a reason for that. Because, of course, it's a very brainy kind of religion where you think a lot and you use your intellect, and definitely law is one of the aspects.
Well, you're taught to think well as well.
Yeah.
To think a lot and to think deeply, and to your credit, to your country's credit. Go ahead.
Yeah, those things like studying and thinking and arguing things is something that is credited. It's something that is considered good, and that
historical as well.
Historically, it's like that. Yeah, and definitely you can read the New Testament. It's very important for Jews, especially for scholars of ancient Jewish life, to study, to read the New Testament. And you see that it's a lot about, they discuss. There's a discussion. What's the right way? What's the most important commandment? How should you do that? There's a lot of that. There's definitely, and that's 2,000 years ago. And Jesus was a part of that discussion. Definitely, he was there in this discussion, and he had his thing to say. And that's just the Jewish way. It's been 2,000 years. That's true. One more thing, I'll tell you this. Historically, again, I'm looking at this from a little bit of I study these things, and I want to study these things. Historically, what we call the laws of Moses, or the Torah laws, the laws of the Bible, of the Old Testament. And literally, if we take just like thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, that set of laws, historically speaking, this was the first time in history, and we have other codes of law of the ancient world, Babylon, Assyria, Egypt, etc. We have historically written codes of law. Yeah. The Torah, the biblical law, was the first time that people were told to do or not do something just because it's the law. And it's a big revolution. So if you read like ancient code of law, for example, there's a lot of discussion what happens if somebody kills a person. But I said, what's the price? If you killed a young man, or if you killed a young woman, or if you killed a slave or a free man, or an older man, or a crippled, or a healthy man, they have different prices. And it says, for this man, you should pay this price. For this kind of murder, you should pay this amount of money. And for this kind of murder, that's unforgettable, so you have to claim it with blood, maybe. Those are the rules. And the biblical law just says, thou shalt not kill. It's not a deal. There's no business. If you will, that's the beginning of criminal law in the world. Because when somebody, God forbid, when somebody murders, God forbid, then the state sues you. It's not a matter between two citizens. Like if somebody crashed your car or destroyed your lawn, then it's between two neighbors. They figure it out.
Yeah.
Right, but it's in a civil court. But if there's a God forbid a murder, that'll be the state. That'll be the owner of the house.
Yeah.
That'll be the king, if you will, that sues you. And it doesn't matter. Maybe the family forgave you. That doesn't matter. The state doesn't forgive because there should be accountability for and a person's life, a soul that is taken. That should take the highest price. The highest. It's not a matter of I'll pay this much and they'll forgive me. And so the biblical law, if you will, the Judaic law was a huge revolution, and it's super necessary. I'm pointing it out because I'm building something for you here. Definitely, it's important. Definitely, it's something that society needs in order to function. As plain as that, accountability. If we were perfect, then there would be no law. It'd be just a sweet, perfect harmony of anarchy.
Yeah.
Everybody would treat each other well. Unfortunately, that's a fantasy. It's not doable in our society, so you have to have law. However, there's another element of grace, of forgiveness, of love, of course. And then the law can say everybody's equal. That's the law. Modern philosophers have said it very well. Everybody's equal. You should treat people the way you feel that should be the general law. That's how everybody should act in this or that case. But it's not personal. There's no love in that. It's correct. It's a good moral law, but it's not personal. And the element of grace, the element of forgiveness, the element of love, it's very high. So for you Christians, it's very easy if you compare, for example, the 8 Beatitudes of Jesus on the Sermon on the Mount with the 10 laws of Moses. Okay? They're not necessary. The comparison is not a necessary one. You don't have to compare them.
Yeah, right.
One does not replace the other. Literally doesn't. Jesus says, in the end of his Sermon on the Mount, he says, all of these laws are still valid till the last day. He says that. It's written black upon white. He says, all of these laws, if you think you're going to be better than anyone, you have to not relax on these laws. You have to do them better than anyone else. The laws are important.
Yeah, he said he didn't come to get rid of the law.
He didn't come to get rid of the law.
He
Exactly.
came to fulfill it.
Exactly. And let's call Jesus grace. If you think grace is important, you're right. But grace doesn't mean that you can kill, steal, or hurt people, and there's no law. There's no accountability. Accountability has to be there. But on top of it, there's law. There's a beautiful song that says, it's like God talking to us. To the believer, saying it's a Jewish song from recent years, actually. It says, you should know, my dear son, that it's true that I love justice, but above all, I love mercy. And that's the element of grace, of love. And it's a very important element. If you do compare the laws of Moses, the 10 laws, let's say, the 10 commandments with the 8 Beatitudes, one is very simple. It's a law. It's just law. Thou shalt do this, thou shalt not do that. I'm not even explaining to you why. And the other one is more like a spiritual, meditative kind of path of how you should do things. Those are two aspects, I think, that they're both very important.
Really? And concerning law, and there being laws, and Israel is a nation, and one of the reasons we're here is because of the atrocities that have happened to Israel over the centuries, and what has happened most recently. You took us a tour of Nova and what had happened there on October 7th with the basically slaughtering of innocent people and with people from Gaza. And you talked a little bit about that. In fact, the interview will be on of the one guy you introduced us to. I can't remember his name. What was his name? Yeah. And his name will be spelled out correctly and stuff when I do. And
Nova survivor.
But you were talking about different things that happened there and the atrocities. What are some things that you think generally the world should know about an individual story or not? Who is the lady in red, in fact, that had the red shirt on that day? We didn't get to talk to her, but you told about her story. And I mean, I don't know if that's the one you want to tell or if there's something else you want to talk about that.
It's going to be hard to pick one specific story, but yeah, look, the personal stories are overwhelming. I feel like what the world has to understand is how terrible the atrocities were. And I don't want to say it just because they say, oh, if atrocities are terrible, then to get pity from someone. You need to understand that because you need to understand who are we dealing with. This is not a regular enemy, and it's definitely not a peace activist or some sort of a freedom fighter. These are people who came to kill, murder, literally. I mean, it's a little bit overwhelming. The stuff that we've been exposed to, the amount of hatred. It's pornographic to get into detail. On October 7th, 1,200 people were killed. Some of them died in battle. Most of them were citizens who were brutally murdered. And in many times, at any point where the terrorists could, they definitely tortured in the hardest, most ways those people, their victims, before they had done with them. And these are sexual assaults and physical assaults, abuses of all sorts. A lot of it is documented. Unfortunately, I've seen those videos, some of them, and they are terrible and very hard to watch. And I'm saying it again, not just so we get into the darker detail of it, right, but just to understand what's the amount of hatred. There is a conflict between Israel and the Palestinians. There is a conflict, and I'm not saying Israel is perfect in it. We only do everything right all the time. Nope. But it's a democracy. We discuss things, we agree on things, and we disagree on things. And this is democracy. That's how democracy is, and it should be. It has to be, right? And nothing is perfect. But on the other side, on the side with whom we have the conflict, of course, there are all kinds of people, and a lot of people who just want peace, but their voice is not heard because they can speak out in this very dark atmosphere that they keep there in Gaza under Hamas rule. And I think they should speak out, because if you don't make your voice heard, no one's going to do it for you. They have to speak out. This way or the other, the people who did those atrocities, they want nothing close to coexistence, nothing close to peace. They want to destroy, murder, and completely annihilate the Jewish nation as a whole, the Israeli people as a whole, the state of Israel. At any definition you want, be it the state of Israel as the Jewish democratic state, or the state of Israel that is, I don't know, just another name for a state that has no character, and anybody who wants becomes a citizen. It doesn't matter. They want nothing of that. On October 7th, the murderers, the perpetrators, they brutally murdered mainly Jews, but also a great amount of Muslim Israelis, who are a very important part of our society. 20% of the Israeli society are Muslim Arabs. And for example, military, they don't have to do the military. Nobody forces them to be a vital part of society, but many do. Out of choice, they do and serve. And the soldiers who died, and by the way, the most heroic decoration, the highest decoration of October 7th was given to a Muslim soldier. Just happens to be so. So they murdered mainly Jews, a lot of Muslims, a lot of Buddhists who were not Israelis, but Thai workers who came to work to gain money. They murdered a few Christians, out of them two Tanzanians who also from Tanzania came as students to study agriculture. With them was a Nepalese, so a Hindu Nepalese who also came to study agriculture. So we already mentioned almost all religions, and we also have Druze soldiers, which is another religion. Druze soldiers who died in battle. Luckily, they weren't massacred that day. This is Israel. This is who they hate. They hate mainly Jews, but also anybody else.
Yeah.
And of course, the other side is a very specific group, and it's not, as they say today in America, inclusive of different identities. Hamas is just one very specific identity. The inclusive side is definitely Israel, not the terrorists of Hamas. And so if you have any affection for a liberal world, liberal not in the sense of this party or another party in the political scene in America, but liberal as in these Judeo-Christian values, let's call them, just for the sake of language, let's just now call them these Western values of freedom, of democracy, of mutual respect, of love thy brother, love thy other as you love yourself. If you believe in any of those things, if you believe in freedom to certain minority groups, including the ones you don't agree with, be them ethnical, religious, sexual minorities, you name it. If you believe in a world that is good to people that live like you or differently than you, and you have to take a side here. And it's quite obvious, I think, which side you have to take. And the lies that are being told, and unfortunately, very, in the same very campuses and the same very shrines of universities, of the shrines of freedom and democracy, it's like a desecration of the values we cherish. To me, the lies that are told against Israel are a desecration, not just to Israel or to, let's say, I don't know, American-Israeli relationship. That, don't worry, that will survive. American-Israeli relationships are good, will remain good, but it's a desecration of Judeo-Christian values. If you prefer Hamas and their atrocities just because they're the victim of some sort, because they suffer more. Sure, yes, they suffer more in this conflict. I will rule out, but it doesn't make them right, and it doesn't give them the right to do genocidal atrocities. If you pick their side
Against
over
people who didn't even know why. I mean, against people who were not trying to be political. They killed the innocent. They killed the innocent.
They killed innocent. They killed babies.
Yeah.
The youngest child was 9 hours. It was actually a Muslim Bedouin family who the woman was pregnant in her 9 months and she was shot killed. But the Israeli doctors were able to deliver the child, and the child lived for like a few hours. Killed. Other than that, they killed Ariel and Khalil, the ginger boys that are very famous, the Bibas family. They're 10 months and 3 years old. What for? Why did you need to kill pregnant Muslim women and Jewish little kids? Why did you have to kill any of those people?
Other than hate.
Other than hate.
Yeah. Well, let's get on a little lighter subject just at the end here, and that is this.
Not a high bar.
And that is, what's one of your favorite questions that on your tours that anybody's asked you, or what have you got to talk about on this tour, any tour, that's just so much fun for you to talk about, as far as the history here and the everything, the culture, whatever. Which sites, what's your favorite? I know you don't have many favorites that you're knowledgeable about so many, but what seems to be the most fun?
It's hard to say. Israel is so full of history, honestly. It's you guys saw Jerusalem.
Oh, we saw just so little compared to what we know is there, right?
Yes, it's true, unfortunately. But also I'm glad because it leaves you like this flavor for more.
That's right. When we come back.
It's a very unique place. Honestly, obviously I'm not objective here. I'm here and I'm in the industry of tourism and I'm an Israeli and I'm in love with this country. I'm not objective. I'll tell you, it is the connecting country between Eurasia and Africa, and our best friend is America. So it's like, yes, God put it there to connect. Are we human beings? Are we the residents of this planet doing the best job we can? No. But still, this is the connecting point. And it has all this history and all this culture, different nature that we have. So it's very hard to say what's my favorite place.
Yeah.
I think Jerusalem alone, the old city of Jerusalem only, which is a 1 square kilometer, right? And it holds so many realities. And you see how the Jewish traditions are there, they're expressed in the way that it's built. And you see how the Christian traditions come up there, and it stems one from the other, right? Yeah. And the Muslim traditions come later, and also enjoy the party, let's call it. All these stories, they intertwine. They are the same way like archaeology is layers of one structure, one culture on top of the other. So are stories. So are our cultural sides of the Judeo-Christian Muslim world, the Abrahamic world, let's call it.
What's one thing you wish people knew about Jerusalem?
It's not just an old city, and it's not just a city of conflict. It's easy to say that, hey, look at that, it's the holy city for all these religious holidays fight. But you can, at the same time, you can say it's the only city that's holy for all these religions, and they actually coexist. Sure, there's tension, but they coexist. There's a lot of, most days of the year, people live normally together, and they have really different aspects of life. And these are people with different, from different walks of life, yet they live in one place. Top of that, it's a modern, fun city, not just old. Yeah, there's science and university and great restaurants and places to be. It's all of those things.
Anything else? Any last words you want to say to your people or the nation of Israel, or anything you want to say to the world?
United States of America and the world. Yes. First of all, we love you. We're your friends. We have much more in common than one could think from the first glance. And we need you. You need us. I want you sort of to support us, but I also want to support you. I think the values of your culture that you and I share is something we have to. The values of freedom, of respecting each other. These values we gotta take care of, and I want you guys to take care of yourselves. I want America to be loving each other. I would love the Americans to have a positive discussion within their political and public world. You don't have to agree. We have different ways. That's the beauty of democracy. Better said, you have to don't disagree, and it's all good. So be you Democrats, Republicans, you guys have to figure out your nation. Your nation I care about. I don't have an American passport. So you can say, that's not my business. I don't care. No, but I do care because you guys are the beacon of Western culture. We need you to be strong and good and to figure out if you have any problems and to solve them, because we need you to keep leading the free world, okay? Please be strong for us.
Keep the peace.
Keep the peace, and there'll always be conflicts and stuff, and the world is not perfect. We're human beings. But we want the democratic liberal world to prosper.
Thanks so much, brother. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Youth Worker on Fire with Ellie. This is the last of the interviews that I had in Israel, but we'll continue on with more information as our podcast goes on. We thank you for being here. Jeremiah 29:11-13 says, "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, says the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and a hope. Then you will call upon me and go and pray to me, and I will listen to you. And you will seek me and find me when you search for me with all of your heart." And we pray that for Israel, for our friends that have been in these last episodes. And we ask that you send these episodes to people that need to hear more about Israel and its people and need to be praying and blessing Israel. Help us turn the tide in helping this great nation and God's people to be safer and protected in our world and to be understood in a world that is full of difficulty. Thanks again for listening to Youth Worker on Fire podcast. Email us at youthworkeronfire@gmail.com to tell us what you thought about this episode.
You've been listening to the Youth Worker on Fire podcast. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and tell your friends. Also, leave a comment and tell us what you think. Stay tuned for more informative episodes.